Hi everyone. So welcome to the stream today and welcome back to our IFRS masterclass as we look at some practice questions, explain some key principles that you must understand to help you position yourself to go into the exam hall and most importantly, pass the examination. Today we're going to be focusing on a number of accounting standards: IAS 38, intangible assets; IAS 2, inventories; IAS 37, provisions, contingent liabilities, contingent assets, and then also we're going to be sharing our thoughts on IAS 21, effect of changes in exchange rate. So a number of accounting standards we want to get excited about and solve some questions on to help you so you can pass the examination. So we are going into financial reporting ICAG November 2025 examination, and we're going to be focusing on the question 2 area to solve some questions there that we must understand relating to these accounting standards. But before I go into the questions, I want to share just some few thoughts with you about the weaknesses that the chief examiner raised concern on relating to the November 2025 financial reporting examination diet, so you have some ideas about what you need to know about generally. So a few things here quickly, then we can get into the questions. First one is that despite the good score in question 1, many candidates struggle with a correct presentation of consolidated financial statement. So presentation of financial statement has been on the lips, if I can put it that way, or in the report of the chief examiner over the previous examination diet. Sometimes it's in question 2. No, question 3, the single entity financial statement. Quite a number of students have problem in presenting the statement of profit or loss, statement of changes in equity, statement of financial position, and also the cash flow statement. And so as you are studying, and then now in the November 2025, the chief examiner's concern was one on the consolidated financial statement, its presentation. And so one thing that I want you to be mindful of is this: if you are writing financial reporting, corporate reporting, note that the financial statements are crucial. And so as you are studying, try to understand the principles, the concepts underlining what you are studying. Make sure you bear in mind the pro forma of the financial statement, because of what use would the workings be if you screw up in the financial statement preparation itself. So it is important that in as much as you are going through understanding the principles, know the pro forma of the financial statement. The statement of profit or loss, how does it look like? The statement of financial position, how does it look like? The statement of cash flow statement, where are we supposed to enter various things? Because all of these will come together to put you in the position to go into the exam hall, write the exam with confidence, and most importantly, pass the examination. The second thing has to do with a considerable number of candidates could not apply knowledge in IAS 37, IAS 38, and IAS 21 to answer the question in the question 2. And the question 2 is on the standards. I mean, there is no way you can walk into a financial reporting examination without understanding of IAS 37, IAS 38, IAS 21. These are, one of the basic standards or some of the basic standards that you're supposed to know about. But quite a number of students struggle in answering questions with this area or in this area in the question 2. So again, be mindful of the standards, be mindful of the principles, be mindful of the concept to put you in the position to pass the examination. Then third, question 3 is the preparation of profit or loss on OCI, right? Poses the greatest challenge for most candidates. Some candidates did not appear to know the format and the content of these 3 financial statements, as they failed to present their answers properly. So that was what I was mentioning earlier about the presentation of the financial statement, the pro forma. And so be mindful of the pro forma of the financial statement, because again, all that adds together to put us in the position to go into the exam or write the exam with confidence and pass the examination. And then question 4 proved challenging to candidates. Now, question 4 is about evaluation of financial statement. I mean, again, you cannot go to the corporate financial reporting examination, by extension, corporate reporting examination, without a deeper understanding of evaluation of financial statement. And so these are some of the concerns. Many candidates fail to apply the relevant IFRSs correctly, highlighting the need for a stronger grasp of the standards. because the accounting standards act as always the pillars that holds the syllabus. Question 1, consolidation, accounting standards. Question 2, the accounting standards. Question 3, the accounting standards. Question 4, the accounting standards. Even question 5, the written aspect, we could have accounting standards coming in. And so it is important you understand these very well to help you put yourself in the position to go into the exam or write the exam with confidence, and most importantly, pass the examination. So these are just some few comments from the examiner. We've mentioned this over and over again. I just wanted to highlight them so you understand the impulse or the impact of the various things that we are discussing and the things that you have to pay attention to as you are going into the examination. All right, so let's come to the work of the day. Question number 2. All right, we are looking at question number 2, ICAG Financial Reporting, November 2025, past paper. We're going to be exhausting all of the questions in question 2, highlighting some of the fundamental principles that we must understand when it comes to dealing with these areas, generally at the end of the day. So let's start with question 2A. Now, if you are a follower of my work, one of the things that we have mentioned or talked about quite a number of times is the verbs that the chief examiner is going to be using in the exam hall. So the examiner can say calculate, describe, demonstrate, explain. You must know the structuring of the answer to the question based on the active verb that the examiner used in the question. So for instance, I want you to pay attention carefully as we go through these questions and then try to crystallize some of the things that we are talking about here. So look at the A aspect of the question. It says, for 4 marks, the examiner says, explain the financial reporting treatment of the above transaction in the books of Salonlier. I don't know what it's that. For the year ended 30th June 2025. All right, so Solon Air Limited. Do they have limited? Just Solon Air, okay. Now, active verb here is explain. So it means that you need to speak English, right? You need to write something down because it's a 4 marks question. Again, it depends on the marking scheme that the chief examiner is trying to use for the given examination date. However, sometimes the explanation can be 1 out of the 4 marks. Sometimes it could be 3 out of the 4 marks, depending on the structure of the questions. Sometimes in the question, we don't have a lot of calculations there. So the whole 4 marks question will be an explanatory thing that you are supposed to do. And so if you're not able to structure yourself very well, that means the whole marks, you're likely to walk away with 0.5, probably for some entry that you're able to make at the end of the day. So let's look at this. So it says explain. Explain. So I'm going to do a freestyle, right, for you to understand how the explain thing will look like briefly, because it is important you understand the structuring of what the examiner expects you to do in order to optimize your chances of passing the examination. So Solonlair is a Ghana-based manufacturer and retailer of ice cream and frozen dairy products. The company had a license valued at 4.4 million Ghana cedis in its draft statement of financial position at 30th June 2025. Stay with me carefully. The company had a license. Immediately I hear the word license, it means we are dealing with intangible assets. And so that is IAS 38, intangible assets. And for license, usually they are intangible assets with definite economic useful life. And so we must amortize the license over the economic useful life of the license on the overall. So IAS 38 is coming to town here. Now, the figure given to us is 4 million, and that is the figure at the reporting date, 30th June 2025. Stay with me carefully, because if you pay attention to the requirements of the question, we are also supposed to explain how this will be treated at 30th June 2025. So the 30th June 2025 carrying amount here is at the end of the year. So they've already calculated the amortization for the year in respect of that. And so this is the balancing figure at the date or at the reporting date. Okay, so we know we're going to apply IAS 38 here to answer the question. Let's proceed. The license was purchased on 1st July 2022 for 10 million Ghana cedis and was valid for 5 years. All right. Amortization has been charged for each of the full year to 30th June 2025 through cost of sales. The examiner didn't have to tell us that, right? That particular sentence there, he didn't have to tell us that, but he was gracious to do it. Okay, because once you are given the carrying amount at the end of the year, you should know that amortization has been charged already. If not, we wouldn't have had the carrying amount at the end of the year. A clause in the contract allowed the licensor to withdraw the license with no compensation if certain financial health measures are not maintained to protect its own brand. So that's the first paragraph. Nothing to report here apart from the fact that two things. We're going to apply IAS 38, intangible assets. 2, they've already charged the amortization for the year, so we are not going to amortize anything. The third thing here is the condition or the clause attached to the license that the licensor can withdraw if the entity doesn't maintain a certain financial health. So let's come to the final paragraph because possibly that will open us up to something else. Despite the refinancing, Solan Air failed these measures in the first half of 2025, and the licensor notified Solan Air in May 2025 that it would indeed withdraw the license effective 1st July 2025. Stay with me. The year ended is June. So January, February, March, April, May, June. So before the year end, they got a notification from the licensor that we're going to withdraw. Okay. For tax purposes, allowances for the cost of the license are allowed on a straight line basis over the 5-year period. The tax allowances for the cost of the license are unaffected by the withdrawal of the license. And so for 4 marks, the examiner is asking students, explain the financial reporting treatment of the above transaction in the books of Solan Air for the year ended 30th June 2025. And so just a freestyle. Let me explain, then we write some English down, then we move. Now, since the licensor is going to withdraw the license, what it means is that at the year end, 30th June 2025, that 4 million carrying amount of the license must be written off. That's all, because we need to de-recognize it. Because now the entity will not hold that license again, so it must be written off. However, we are told that the tax effect of that still remains in the book. So going into the next subsequent year, 30th June 2026, the entity will still earn some tax benefit from it. But that would have no consequences for the year ended under review. But for further understanding, that is why this will be necessary. So the license must be accounted for in accordance with IAS 38, intangible assets, as appropriately reported, because they've done the right thing by the entity as at 30th June 2025. However, due to the notice of license withdrawal by the licensor in May 2025, Solan Air will no longer operate in the name of the license and hence must be derecognized in the financial statement. And so if we want to pass a simple journal entry, we say we debit profit or loss. Now, we are told that the amortization of the license had been charged through cost of sales. So if we are debiting profit or loss, we can write it off against cost of sales as well for that same year ended. Okay? That's 4 million. Then you credit the license in the name of intangible assets, 4 million. What it means is that in the statement of financial position for the year ended 30th June 2025, we wouldn't have this 4 million under intangible assets for the entity. This is the answer to the question, and that is what you must understand when we talk about this question here. Again, my goal here for you is two things. One, understanding the principle to apply to solve the question. Right? That is important. Understanding the principle to apply to solve the question, but also this way you are supposed to write out your answers based on the way the examiner is asking the question. And that is very important, because if you miss the way the examiner is asking the question, then you're going to have a lot of problems going into the future. So if you learned something from this video, remember to like, follow, subscribe, and share the video so that others can also see this. Most importantly, let me hear from you if there are any questions you have, or if you have any topic that you would want me to cover on the next episode, leave it in the comment section. I want to read from you. If you want to enroll as well in our courses to study under my mentorship for your ICA, ACCA, CIMA, or ICAN examination, you can head on to our website, NhyiraPremium.com, or download the Nhyira Premium mobile application on the Google Play Store or the App Store to complete your enrollment. You can also send us a message on WhatsApp or call us 050-114-9296. 050-114-9296. Complete your enrollment today to join our community. Let me hold your hand, provide you with the blueprints that you need with the team here. Let us assist you. This is our mission. This is what we do. This is what we are called for. And we have the resources, the skills, the expertise needed to help you to pass the examination. So visit our website, NhyiraPremium.com, to read more about us. Or better still, download the Nhyira Premium mobile application on the Google Play Store or the Apple App Store. You want to get personal? Hit us with a DM or send us a message on WhatsApp, 050-114-9296. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.